we have to talk to Ben. Let's check on Apollo. He's doing all right. He said he has stuff. What up? I want to see Oracle too.
Hello again. I can't remember the last time I had guests so frequently. I did tell you we could discuss your memories and the Eidolon more in depth after the party. Did you have any questions, or?
Yeah. Well, I feel different as I change.
When all these memories start to return, will I feel different?
Well, let's see. It starts as dreams you'll have of places you've never been, people you've never met, fleeting images, feelings. Then they'll appear while you're awake. You'll be eating breakfast and suddenly recall when you last ate something similar in the 17th century. The only difficult part is that eventually it can be hard to differentiate between your life and all those other lives. They blend together.
It does sound confusing.
A little, yeah. And not all the memories will be good ones. It can take time to process.
I still remember my own life.
You said it becomes hard to differentiate your life from the others. How hard, exactly? It'll still be me, right?
Grace, would you say that who you are is at least in part due to your experiences?
I guess so, sure.
Well, you'll have a lot more experiences. They won't feel like someone else's either. It will feel like you did all those things. They will shape who you are now, just as they shaped Calliope and all those who came before her. The good news is, you won't get all the memories. Each time we pass on, the older memories fade.
How is fading memories a good thing? I'm guessing if they're really bad ones, and that's why Aphrodite was trying to expedite the process.
Wait, how is it good that old memories start to fade?
We're many thousands of years old, Grace. If all of those memories returned with perfect clarity, you'd drown in them.
Yeah, but doesn't that mean you've all forgotten so much?
Tell me, how much do you remember from when you were a small child?
Bits and pieces, I guess. Not much.
It's the same for us. The further I try to think back, the more blurry it becomes. I remember the important bits, but little else. Some of the really old memories. There's so many mortal stories that get mixed up with them, things my previous selves learned as legends. It becomes hard to tell. It takes time, Grace. You'll remember all the lives you've led, but at a pace you can handle, and nothing more.
How many times have you died?
How many times have you died? Can I ask that?
Well, we call it passing on, meeting the Eidolon, and it's fine. I've passed on 12 times that I can recall.
So your name isn't really Apollo?
Most recently it was Lucas. Everyone Lucas ever knew is gone, however, so these days I prefer Apollo again.
Lucas? Seems weird to think of you as a Lucas.
It was weird for him, too. Much like yourself, Lucas becoming Apollo was somewhat of a surprise.
Sounds like there's a story there.
Tell me about Lucas.
Tell me about this Lucas. How did he become you? Or is it how you became Apollo?
Apollo had taken to surfing. He left the city without permission and roamed the coast looking for... Well, I'm not sure now. Whatever it was, he found it one night when a giant wave took him down. He was drowning, and I thought, this is finally it. But it wasn't. Lucas saw Apollo struggling and swam out to save him. He pulled us ashore, but it was too late. It took a long time to realize what happened. I didn't return to the city until years later. By then, everyone thought I was Apollo's chosen successor.
So no trial for you, huh?
It wasn't easy at first, without memories or anyone to guide me, but No, nothing like that.
Man, that sucks, bro. It was just out of the blue, and then like I don't know which is worse, like Grace's situation or like Apollo's situation. Both kind of suck. But he was just like flying blind though, completely. Imagine like you save someone who's like dying or try to, and then they die, and then all of a sudden you start getting memories just flooded into your brain of like that person. It's gotta be trippy. Wait, what if Lucas hadn't been there? Yeah, what happens if you don't have someone to pass it on to?
Wait, what would have happened if Lucas hadn't tried to rescue you? What if no one was there when you...
When I died, then the Eidolon of Apollo's line would have ended forever, I think.
You think?
There have been stories about Eidolons that survive for a time and go wandering. That's probably all they are, though. Stories. It's not something we've had much opportunity to study, but normally death without passing on is how an idol really dies. Forever.
It is all for now. That's such a happy note to leave off on.
It's a lot to consider. Assuming I'll even have time to worry about it, what with the trial coming.
Hopefully this eases whatever concerns you might have had. Anything else you'd like to discuss while you're here?
Okay, sure. Can you tell me more about Calliope?
Tell me more about Calliope. You and her were good friends, right?
For centuries, we were far more. I was the god of the arts, and the Muses were my constant companions. We went everywhere together. They had many names, but the three most common were Cleo, Talia, and Calliope. The sisters of beauty, I called them, though they weren't always women.
I never thought of that. Do idols change gender a lot?
Most of us seek out inheritors who are like us, I suppose, but not all. Calliope, in fact, was a man in her previous incarnation. Christoph, I think his name was. A poet Calliope adored. I was surprised when she made him a muse.
Who was Calliope after Kristoff?
Who did Calliope become after that poet, Christoph?
You have to realize we're already into the period where Calliope and I weren't really speaking. She showed up one day in her new form, the one you met. An opera singer whose name she never revealed. We fought, as I recall. I told her she couldn't pass on every time she met an artist she fell in love with. Eventually she'd forget everything about who we were and where we came from. She said she'd rather forget than wallow in old memories like I or the other idols were doing. It was time to wake up and make the best of our situation. Calliope was an idealist without compromise. Always. She hated what we'd become. What I'd become. She wasn't wrong.
Gives us some more info about Calliope's whole situation. Because could it be that her like constant body swapping like upset someone? Possibly Athena. And if Athena has like a shady like spy master, who's to say she didn't like have someone else do her dirty work so that she could always be seen as following the rules? Something to think about. Right? You and Calliope fought often.
From how you describe it, you and Calliope fought a lot.
As often as we saw each other, which became less and less as time wore on. However, she fought with everyone. Calliope hated the idols being kept secret. She and Athena would get into screaming matches over the rules, and it got so I could no longer protect her. She moved out of Olympus years ago and kept to herself. I just assumed she was wrapped up with some new artist when I got the news.
Do you regret not making up with her?
Every day I think about our last conversation and what I should have said or done differently. The problem with immortality is that you think you have all the time in the world.
What about the good things?
It wasn't only fighting with Calliope, right? Surely there were good things too.
Is that how it sounds? No, she was marvelous. A force to be reckoned with if there ever was one. In the darkest days during the war, it was her songs that gave us hope. She kept Aphrodite alive through sheer determination, I think. Calliope cared. About us, about art, about people she'd only just met. It was her greatest strength as well as her greatest weakness.
I wonder why she picked me. I don't feel like I'm any of those things.
You underestimate yourself, Grace. I see a lot of her in you. She chose well.
Yeah, what happened to the other muses? Yeah, because there's two others, but they said she was the last one of the three. So I'm guessing they died before they could pass on their eidolons, or they chose not to pass them on.
What happened to the other muses? You mentioned two others. Were they lost in the war?
Cleo perished centuries before, the victim of an obsessed writer she'd spurned. He kept her in a cage as his personal muse.
Ugh, that's pretty dark.
It was. By the time we found her, she was already... Well, it's enough to say her captor didn't survive her for long. Talia, however, was lost to us on the very last day of the war. We were about to leave on the ship, but she just never showed up.
Do you know what happened to her?
We never found out. I worried for years, even hired people to look, but as far as I can tell, she up and vanished into smoke that day. The war had ground her down. I was upset, but not surprised.
Okay, so normies can in fact kill the idols, so it's not out of the question that one could have killed Calliope. It's not like this has never happened before, despite Athena being like, how, and Persephone being like, some normie couldn't possibly just kill an idol. Apparently they can. Apparently it's not that hard. More about the idols.
I'd like to know a little more about the idols. I am one now, right?
You are. What would you like to know?
Well, what are we? Where did we come from? If an idol is a soul that moves from person to person, it must have started somewhere, right?
The short answer is, we don't know. If I think far enough back, I can remember bits and pieces. I remember my first Pythian games, the day the idols split in two over Troy, the day my first son died. But before that, nothing. None of us do. I vaguely recall the very first Apollo many thousands of years ago, but was he the original? Did he appear out of the ether? I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, because they start forgetting stuff. Convenient. Yeah, how can you not know where you're from? I mean, that's, yeah. I don't feel like we need to ask that. We need to go further down that line. At least not yet. Let's ask more about Apollo.
I'd like to know a little more about you. All I know is you live in a dump, you have an oracle, and you...
I'm not sure what to tell you. One day has bled into the next for so long, I feel like I've been lost in the spaces in between.
Wow, that's a bit dramatic.
Yeah, well, it comes naturally. Music and the arts were once under my purview as a god.
How did that get decided? Did you have a big hat full of pieces of paper and you all picked at random?
No, we chose them for ourselves. Some, at least. Others were given to us by our priests. We collected godly responsibilities like marbles.
People collect marbles?
Oh, or whatever it is mortals collect these days. Cars, perhaps? The point is, we took our godly duties very seriously.
See, what were you like as a god? Do you remember?
You must have been very different back when you were a proper god.
I think most of us were. We saw ourselves as, I don't know, teachers. Mortals were our students, and we guided them to enlightenment. We thought we were special, infallible. I was as magnificent as the sun, and I surrounded myself with those who basked in my radiance.
That doesn't sound like you.
Yeah. I was arrogant. If there was a man or woman I desired, then I had to have them, or there would be consequences. You wouldn't have liked me. I wouldn't have liked me.
We know why Persephone is like kind of angry at him because of, like no one helped her. So she's kind of mad at all of them. Let's see if we can get details.
So what is Persephone's beef with you exactly? Is it just about what Hades did to her?
That's no small thing.
It seems more personal than that.
I mentioned how Persephone's kidnapping almost meant war between Olympus and Hades, yes? Well, while this was all going on, Persephone managed to escape the underworld, and I'm the one she encountered first.
Uh-oh.
Hades was hot on her heels, and I had a choice. Either do battle with Hades and start the war right then and there, or let him take her back. Zeus would have had my head if I had sparked a war. Yet all I still think of are Persephone's eyes as Hades smugly took back his prisoner. It's not my finest moment.
Have you ever tried therapy? Yes, have you? Yeah, have you tried therapy? Have any of the idols tried therapy? Even though that's probably you wouldn't be able to go into details, I'm guessing, because of the whole situation. You can do that with just like current stuff.
Apollo, have you ever tried, I don't know, talking to someone about how you feel?
I will never understand this modern fascination with therapy and focusing on one's feelings.
It might help. You never know.
Yes, I've tried it. There was one I used to speak to. Hecate enchanted him never to reveal what I told him. I don't know that unburdening myself to the man helped. He wasn't exactly trained for this sort of problem.
It is kind of hard to relate to a god, sure.
I do appreciate the thought. But I'm afraid muddling through is as good as it gets for us.
Well, for now.
That's all I can think of for now. I'll see you around.
Of course. I look forward to it.
I guess I have to go to Pan to progress the story, so let's go.
I'd say hello, Grace, but I'm afraid that look on your face might be catching.
What is this place?
It's a garden, darling. Surely even mortals have them.
This building. All those people I pass getting up here. Are they all idols?
Oh, at least some of them. Welcome to Olympus, dear Grace. Our home hidden away in plain sight. Marvelous, isn't it?
Is Olympus hidden?
I've passed this part of the city 100 times. I've never seen this building. Was it always here, or...?
Our Lady Hecate provides glamours that allow certain things to go unseen, such as my glorious horns. Olympus is the same. Those invited see it. Those who aren't see exactly what they expect. It's not anywhere as grand as in the old country, but it It serves its purpose.
This isn't grand.
I don't know, Pan. Olympus seems pretty grand to me.
As if mortals would know any better. This isn't the first time you've been here. I'm sure Hermes took you to Athena's dreary office.
That's here? Huh.
Good one, that Hermes. Almost as dull-witted as the original, but biddable.
Many idols are there still, like, remaining?
How many idols are there? I've met, what, less than 12?
Oh, I don't know, 20, 30. Our numbers have dwindled so much I've stopped keeping track.
I didn't know there were that many gods.
We're not all equally legendary, it's true. Some idols were barely worshipped, others not at all. Indeed, not all of us are idols. Some are merely immortal. Hangers-on, if you will. You'll meet them all, given time.
Do most idols live here? Just a couple.
Idols live here? I mean, Calliope didn't, obviously. Apollo doesn't either.
One must have special dispensation from Our Lady of Wisdom, Athena, before they can take up a private dung heap like Apollo's.
Am I gonna have to give up my apartment?
That's rather putting the cart before the horse, darling. First, you must outlive the week.
Right. Good point. You asked me to meet you here?
I did. As I recall, you owe me a favor that I now wish to collect, if you'd be so kind.
Yeah, well, yeah. Paul's right about. I mean, he said he owed a favor and he was going to collect on it. So yeah, this was expected.
Oh, sure. I'm totally in a position to help others right now. Lay it on me.
Here's the thing. A friend has begged for my help, and you're far better suited than I to offer what he requires. I'll give you a key to reach the reliquary where he resides. You help him, and then we're even. If that's not enough incentive, the reliquary is also where you'll find the lovely Hecate. A sorceress of her power could aid your quest. What do you say?
What type of favor is this? This is very interesting.
This person I'm to help. What does he want? And why can't you do it?
Well, Grace, there are some things you're better equipped to handle than I. This, as I understand it, is a delicate matter of the heart. One that requires a Muses' hand.
A matter of the heart.
What, did you think I was sending you to rough someone up? Set something aflame? Don't be absurd. The man has an issue with his love life. Even if you can't help him, I'll treat the effort as worth the favor.
That's it?
So that's it? Fix up someone's love life? Nothing trickier than that?
Oh, the way you talk, Grace. It makes me blush.
Well, it's just that...
I trade in willing favors, Grace. If I didn't, no one would want to do as I ask, and then where would I be? I may seem untrustworthy, but allow me to reassure you. If I wish you harm, you will walk into that harm knowingly, and with open arms.
Yeah, did Calliope do that?
What about Calliope? Did she walk into harm knowingly and with open arms?
You tell me. I could deny it, of course, but if you choose not to believe anything I say, what's the point of asking the question?
See what type of person you are. You gotta see how bad the lie is. Wait, would Hecate really help me?
This Hecate. Do you think she could help me?
If she's of a mind. She is the goddess of dark magic, the creator of all our marvelous glamours. If anyone can help you, it is she.
And if she's not of a mind?
Then she won't help you. Grace, that part is up to you. I can't be expected to do everything, can I?
I'll consider it.
I'll think about it. But no promises.
Marvelous. The gentleman you seek is named Asterion.
Oh no!
Lovely fellow, quite harmless. Now, if there's nothing else you need.
Not in Astarion! Not another Astarion! No, I'm playing the Baldur's Gate 3 right now. Not a... Oh, instant distrust. It's gonna be... Okay, maybe he won't be as hard of a disaster as Astarion. We'll see. Yeah, what do you know anything about Medusa?
That depends. What can you tell me about Medusa?
That is a rather peculiar subject change.
Yes.
Her name came up at Aphrodite's party. I'd like to look into it.
You'll find Medusa at a dingy little club appropriately named the Viper's Nest. Give her my regards. Do tell me you'll be careful if you go there, Grace. Medusa is a hideous creature and should be treated as such.
It's rather rude. What does that mean?
Okay, I give up. How does one treat a hideous creature?
With a great deal of respect, if you know what's good for you. I'll send a package to your domicile that contains directions and the key you'll need to reach the reliquary.
I said no promises.
Well, if you decide to go, Grace, you'll still need all those things. Say hello to darling Hecate on my behalf, will you?
We have to go. It's part of the main story.